Hello, everybody. It's Kate Richburg, and welcome to, let me adjust this a little bit, Free Tip Friday. It is Friday, December 3rd, the 12th month, the last month of the year. Happy December, everybody. It's great to have you all here, and it's great to be here today. Looks like a bunch of you were on and chatting and uh, exchanging some good morning, so that's great. It looks like our friend Geeta is here moderating over on our Facebook platform, and we've got Janice moderating over on YouTube, and we've got people all over the world coming in and saying hello. So good morning, afternoon, or evening, everybody. I am back at the home studio. Oh, I love it. People from the UK and New Zealand and Kentucky and everybody down the street and here in Fresno and everything. So great. It's great to have everybody here. So today, for Free Tip Friday, we were going to do, because it's our first Friday of the month, we were going to do our Bead Doctor segment. But we're actually going to postpone our Bead Doctor. Janice and I will do that next week. And so if you have any Bead Doctor questions, you can send them right over to info@beadshop.com. And we'll put them on the list. We've got a long list of Bead Doctor questions that we like to answer. That's a holdover from when we had our brick and mortar store in Palo Alto, California. We'd, put the bead doctor sign open, and people would come in and we'd troubleshoot their beading issues. So that was a lot of fun. So that will happen next week. Okay, next Friday. But today I've got something special for you. So as you know, I love freshwater pearls, right? And I've been hoarding a few freshwater pearls for a while, and I finally completed the mix. So if you saw your newsletter this morning, you saw that we're releasing that mix on this morning, or today, I want to say at noon. Noon Pacific time. Right now, if you're watching me live, it is it's 10:36 a.m. Pacific time here on the West Coast. So we're going to release that at noon. And so this one is called Juniper Frost, and it is 80 grams of freshwater pearls and crystals, all in green, perfect for this festive time of year, or if you're a green lover like I am. You can see I'm wearing green today. And so it's not live today yet. So if you click that link now, it's not gonna there's not going to be any in stock. So it goes in stock at noon. So let me tell you, if you want this mix, it's going to go quickly because, of course, I have a limited amount. I'm sorry. It's just the way things are. I can't get an unlimited amount, especially of these pearls. And green pearls are thin on the ground. So if you want to do some shopping beforehand, you can put things in your cart at Bead Shop. But then when the product goes live, put it in your cart and check out. Don't hang around because it's going to go. If you put it in your cart and you're like, oh, I just want to shop and do some other things. But if you're on it, like at noon, put it in your cart, check out, you'll be good. Okay, at least I hope you will. There are other mixes coming down the pike, and I promise to do another green pearl mix as soon as I hoard some more green pearls. Okay, so that's coming down. I also, in a couple of weeks, I have a crystal mix. And that's all I'm going to say. We're calling it champagne toast, which is going to be awesome. So let me show you, without further ado, I've got a couple things I want to share. Oh, before I get to that though, let me tell you, as you know, I've been moving, right? And it looks like Leslie says she's in her new home after a very stressful week. Well, I understand the stress of moving, my friend. Chris and I are still in the process of getting everything settled here in our new home and getting our studio and base of operations settled. Hopefully by January or very soon, we'll have all of that sorted out. So you'll see me in yet another home studio broadcasting there. But during the move, I found a few boxes of DVDs that I had made. You all know that I used to have a fantastic bead store along with my partner, Christine, in San Francisco called Beadissimo, right? And so Beadissimo, what we did was we did a series of learning things. And this was kind of before online learning was a thing because we had it in the early 2000s. So we did this really great DVD. And it's about basic stringing techniques. So I talk about stringing with soft flex, and soft flex in particular, crimping and all that kind of stuff. Some stuff on design, as well as working with thread. And so I found a whole bunch, right? So we tossed them up on the Bead Shop website for $5 each. So if you still have a way to watch a DVD, the DVD's here, and it has 8 chapters. An introduction where we're in my store, and I don't know if you can see, but there's a younger me. I don't know, right there. And then we talk about designing a necklace, string materials, clasps, stringing a necklace, crimping and closing, and advanced closures. Of course, these beads that I use in this are long gone. They were beads from my store, but it's kind of a fun slice of life from way back in the day, 2007 to be exact. But the info is still very relevant, and if you have a way to play a DVD, you can grab it for $5. So that's on the site. So there's plenty of them, but if you want one, they are there. Okay, let's take a look at this mix. Let me bring this camera in here. And let me add myself to the stream and let's take a look at what we've got going on here. So I've been working on, on the mix here. And you can see I'm still dealing with lighting issues. Can you tell? I'm still trying to get the light really perfect here. It's going to take a while, but at least my internet signal is strong. So thanks for bearing with me on this. It's still a learning curve, but I'm getting there. Okay, so here is the group of beads. You get 80 grams of the pearls. And the way that we do it, you guys, is Gita says this screams redhead. It does. It does. It's so, so pretty. This is a mix of green freshwater pearls of a bunch of different sizes. This largest one, and we do them kind of randomly, right? So what we do is we put all of the beads in a giant mix, in a giant bin, okay? All the pearls, all the crystals, and then we stir it up. So it's like a huge pot of bead soup, right? Then we weigh it out. And so this is 80 grams worth. So depending on the sizes of the beads and stuff, but you'll get some freshwater pearls that are big like this, 12 millimeter, all the way down to kind of these smaller ones, which are really pretty too. These guys here. Okay. So, so it's a really pretty mix. And you can see I've hardly strung that much of it. It's right here, and that's already like 12 inches. So you have enough to make, I don't know, whatever it is you want to make with this. But I wanted to talk a little bit about how I'm stringing this because it's also going to feed into next week's project. So you can see here's that pile, and it comes in a nice organza bag. Whoops, there's still a couple of crystals in there. Yeah, Janice, I thought Janice was on, but she may be off. She's dealing with a few family issues today, so she's kind of busy on this Friday. So she'll pop in if she can, but if not, we will see her next week. So here's that pile plus these guys. I know Kim is saying, no, that's my kind of soup. It is really, really true. Oh, that's the link. Sorry, Kim. I wanted to show you your comment there is really fun, right? And the greens are all bunch of different greens. You can't go wrong. All greens, I think, go with every other green. So I think it's good. Now, what I did here, I use thread. I was going to use silk with needle, but as Janice said to me um, yesterday when we were talking about this, she said, you've been using silk with needle like a lot. So I was all, okay, you know what? I'm going to use thread, but I'll use Ceylon. And so the way that I like to string pearls or beads, especially pearls right here, the pearls I like to use a double strand of the micro Ceylon because it's heavy enough that it's a double strand. And also the pearl beads, all of the sizes really slide nicely on this thread, right? Can you see that? So it looks really nice. So, so that looks good. So I'm gonna show you how I set that up. There was a question on what did I put in between. So that is a great question, Carrie. Thank you, because I want to talk about that next. So what I have here, this is what I used in that autumn oak mix. This is the Duracoat Champagne 11-aught in the matte, not the shiny. So I had them sitting around. So I thought, you know what? That's what I'm going to use to go in between these beads. Now, you don't have to um, you don't have to have a bead in between. Okay, and I don't have a bead in between all of these. I've gathered a couple of my other pearl mixes that I've made into necklaces because I want to show you how that looks. Okay, so I'm using just one seed bead in between here. Can you see that? Mostly one. I had a little bit of a goof and there's two there, but I'm not worried about it at all. Okay, so so I just strung one after the other. So it mimics like a knot, like a pearl knot. Sometimes I have crystal that is kind of stacked up in between. You can see that there. Maybe that's a little bit better lighting wise. It's a little shadowy though, but maybe that's better. But it does kind of look like knots, right? But I like the way it looks. Then the list. So Drea put the list up of what I'm using with this. This is peridot in the micro, but you could use any color you want because we're not really going to see this. Even if I tie a knot, and I'll tie a knot maybe every so often, and I'll show you how I do that in a second. I also thought, what clasp? You don't have to do a clasp. You could do this endlessly, and you've seen me do an endless. I'll show you. I have a couple over here that I'm going to show you in a second. I'm using the pave toggle with the pave crystal here. It's so gorgeous, and I haven't used it, so it's kind of sat around unnoticed on the web. On our website, but I just adore it. And I think that this will be a great piece. I like to layer my pearls, so I'll be able to wrap this. I'm probably going to string this long enough to wrap 3 times around my neck. So this um, pave toggle, wherever it lands, I think would be really, really pretty to see. Okay, like this. So that's what I've used. Pave toggle, peridot thread in micro, and the 11-4204F. But the regular 4204 would look great or whatever. And Sheila, it's not sold out yet. Don't despair. It does not go up until noon Pacific time. So it's not in stock yet. I put it in after the broadcast so everybody has a chance to see it and then jump over and purchase it. But again, when you jump over to Bead Shop, when it goes live at noon, again, it's 10:48 a.m. here on the West Coast. So wherever you are, it'll be in an hour and 11 minutes it goes, right? So, and so silk, if I were using silk, Diane, I'd use a size 4 for this. The size 4 silk with needle will work. But let me talk to you about the spacing of this, okay? And then we're going to talk about the stringing. So can you see? Oh, and thank you, Christine, for answering this. I saw this question. Shirley had a question about what text the thread is. Micro is text 70, so it's pretty thin. Fine, Ceylon is text 135. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Christine, for stepping up to that. I need to get that chart, and we have that chart in our files in the bead group at the bead table. And I'll throw those social prompts up in a bit, but you can find the thread text card there. That's super, super helpful. So thank you for having done that as well. So let me show you guys. You might remember this pearl mix from a while back. I just love freshwater pearls, and I love dumping them in a big bin and making a mix, right? So this was one you can see here. I used 11-aughts in between as well, but these are the gilding matte 11-aughts. They're the metal seed beads. And can you see the difference between how I use like 3 or 4 in between here versus the one that's here? Okay, so visually it makes, and it makes your pearls kind of further apart a little bit so you can see them a little bit more, the shapes especially. Here with that single one, they're bunched up a little closer. I like them both. Okay, I like them both. Here is another one that I made from another pearl mix a while back, and I want to show you the difference. These have just one in between, but can you see how I used a cool seed bead in there because these pearls were all kind of in the silver, kind of peacock silver category. So I used, I think it's that alabaster, silver lined alabaster in here, right? And here I warmed it up with that um, matte, Duracoat matte champagne. Um, so it just depends on whatever you want to do. I could have put this silvery one in these, and I thought I was actually going to do that, but I didn't because I went with these because out of pure necessity that I had them open and left over from the project, so I wanted to keep using them, right? So you can see how with just a little bit of a seed bead change, and I'm going to get really tight in here to show you. I have something, I'm going to show you this. We do have a bunch of freshwater pearls on beadshop.com, as you know. We love our freshwater pearls. If you were watching my social media around my birthday time in September, you saw that every year for my birthday, I make myself a fancy necklace, right? I just kind of take some of my favorite beads that I've been hoarding all year and I make myself something. Well, I made myself, if I do say so, a really good looking pearl necklace, and it happens to just be sitting over here. I'm grabbing it off the wall, so that's all of this rustling that you hear. But I want to show you this. This is also something that you could do with a mix. These are pieces out of my own stash right here. So I'm going to come in here and show you this one. This, again, was out of my own stash of beads that I have just collected over the years. But I wanted to show you how the knots, this one I knotted, okay? And you can see I've got a couple of cool skull beads from my buddy Cynthia Thornton at Green Girl. This was a snake, one of her bronze little snake coins that I used. And then I have a few beads that I made that I threw in here. So this also strings, goes around about 3 times, maybe even a little bit more. But I use some large freshwater pearls. I use some these are Venetian trade beads that are probably way over 100 years old here. Okay. So, um, so this is a fun way to also use pearls. You don't have to use pearls with just pearls, right? You can use pearls with just about anything. I love this piece, and it was really a fun one to string. I have a few coin pearls. Some of you remember those coin pearls. We had those in a mix, I think, a while back. So I had a few of those. An old kyanite barrel. So, just if you're hoarding some beads, the right opportunity will present itself. Okay. So, anyway, so that's what's going on here. You can see. So the pearls, this pearl mix, you can um, play around and mix just about anything you like with it. But I love showcasing these as kind of color stories. Now, these are two of the other ones I've made that you've seen, but all of these can be worn together, right? You can also grab a few strands of freshwater pearls as well and mix them up with that. Pearls are just so super classic, so I just love to work with them. So let's talk about stringing up this piece. Okay. So what I did was I used, as I mentioned, that micro peridot. Okay. And Janet, I used silk for this. And can you see there's the knots that are in there? Right there, you can see them. I knotted on silk here. And Donna, I want you, that's very sweet of you to say. Um, But let me tell you, I don't put anything out there that I don't want people to either emulate or learn from or whatever. Donna says, I always love what you do, but I'm so afraid of copying you that I don't even try. Girl, just do it. And if it goes, that's how, the great masters, when they were learning how to paint, right? They go and study with their mentor and they paint, and then they break out into their own design work. So, whatever you do, string it bead for bead or use it as inspiration, whatever works for you. I don't put anything out there that I don't want people to make, right? If there was something that I felt that was such a state secret, I wouldn't do it on the live, right? So you just jump in, right? As Skeeta says, that's right. You do you. That is exactly right. So this micro, this is the micro Ceylon here. And we said it was Tex, what is it, Tex 135, I think. The fine is Tex 70. So it's pretty thin, but it's pretty sturdy for sure. And that's why I like to double it. So let me get back on track here. And I'm just going to cut a short piece so you guys can see. Here's this. All right. And then here I'll do another one. And then I'll clip it. So when I'm stringing, that's why I'm using the micro. I could use fine for this, but fine might only go through once. And when I string long strands, I like to string the strands double so that if one strand gives, my second strand will hold, hopefully, until I notice what's going on and I can restring it or whatever. But I'm going to use that wire needle. Can you see that there? And I go through it. And then I'm going to go ahead and make my loop. So here's my ends here. And then, oh, thank you, Christine. I got that backwards. Micro is text 70. Fine is text 135. I'm sorry, I got it. I got it reversed. Sorry about that. Thank you for that. So I know that you're so good at that thread. I just say regular, medium, and fine. So I'm going to go ahead, get my loop, and I'm going to tie a knot in the end. Now I'm going to use an end tip for this, though I could make it endless. This clamshell end tip, can you see that there? Has a hole that's pretty big. Gosh, I've got pen all over my hands. You wouldn't think I could keep my hands clean here while I was stringing. That hole was pretty big. Okay, so with the fine thread, if I just tied a knot like this, a single knot, that knot would be too small and just glide right on through that clamshell. Okay, so what I want to do is I'm going to make that loop and I'm going to pass that in through once, twice, and a third time. And that's going to give me a knot that comes up nice and fat. And this kind of up, tighten it up. And can you see how that gives me a nice fat knot? Instead of, tying a knot like this, right? And then going, oh, that's not going to be big enough. Oh, let me try and tie another knot on top of that and try and get it to sit where it's supposed to sit, right? Well, that one actually did. But usually when you tie a knot on top of a knot on top of a knot, you get a little chain of like 3 knots, right? And so that doesn't really work. So do that loop and then pass it through about 3 times. So then when you put that end tip on with the cup, little clamshells covering that knot. You see that right there? That's not going to pull through, see? And really test it, because your necklace is only as strong as this connection, okay? So you don't want to make a knot that's too bulky that, you can't get the clamshell across, over it. But you do want to make it just large enough. There you go. So it sits right in there. So now what I do is I get my my GS hypo, and I'm gonna just put the glue on that knot, push my clamshell up against it, and then keep going. Okay. So then what you will do here, oh, excellent. Bert has had his cream. Excellent. His Friday night treat. Oh, Bert, you darling British kitty. I don't know where Alfred, the saucy American kitty, is, but he was around here somewhere. I heard like the kitchen cabinets opening and closing, so I'm kind of afraid to go in there. Let me just string a few of these on, okay? And then we're gonna look at them. We're gonna look at what a single bead in between looks like. And all of these greens really go together, so you don't need to worry about what bead goes up next to the next bead, right? Let me put that one on, and then this one. And let's take a look, okay? And doing a little bit of a tester, right, like this, you can see how those single beads are going to look. Now, you could also do a tester and see how maybe 3 beads will look, right? So we don't have to commit. I've just cut a small piece of thread, right? So I'm not worried. I'm not like emotionally invested in this piece, right? So nothing I do will be, devastating if I feel like, oh, that doesn't look right or whatever. It doesn't matter. You haven't invested much in materials or time to do this tester. You're just seeing how everything looks. Get this one here. Let's pull them down. And can you see how those look? Okay. So it just it spaces everything out a little bit more. I also do, let me do a couple more of these. So it just depends on what you like. And you can also see the color of the seed beads better. So if, you really, and again, it doesn't really matter what color thread you use. If I can get this on there. Let me grab a pearl. Just like that. Okay. Now, what I was thinking about doing with this piece, okay, was, let me put this over there. I was thinking, and I still may do that. I don't know. I may take it apart and do it. I don't know. I was tossing the idea around. There's so many really distinct colors in this mix. So I think it would also be really cool to divide these beads up by color, right? So those are kind of the darkest greens. And then there's some kind of like these greens, right? Then they get a little bit lighter. That would go there. That one might go also there in the mid-range tones. And then start to string it in an ombre fashion, right? In kind of a color order. I love an ombre kind of feel, right? So you could go dark here like this, and then middle, and then to the light tones. That would also look good. And then as you string it, it'll go from kind of a dark to light kind of a feeling. That might look good. So I don't know. So there's a couple of questions that I want to let's see, that I want to address. I'm looking here. So Kim asks, would you mix up the number of seed beads you use throughout the piece? You sure could. And you could use a couple of different colors if you wanted, right? You could make this completely monochromatic and use green. You could use a metallic. You could use a color that was a contrast rather than a match, right? And you could use 2, 3, 4, whatever works for you, right? But it'll really change up what you've got here. Okay. And there's another question here. Rachel asks, when knotting pearls, is it recommended to triple or quadruple the length of your finished piece? I know you're not knotting between every bead here. Yes, so if I am knotting between every bead, what I do is I take the length of what my finished piece is going to be and I multiply it by 3, right? So if I'm doing, like, let's say, my 16-inch necklace. 16 and 16 is 32, plus 16 more is 46, 48, right? I take a 48-inch strand and then I double that over, and that should give me enough, right, to string on. Okay. And then I always add maybe a couple of extra inches just for fun, so I don't run out of thread. Okay. Let's see, any more? So Sandra's saying I would put another knot after the clasp right here, or another seed bead. You know, I I think that's really kind of a personal choice that works. This is going to be so tight up against here, not tight, but it'll be kind of a firm connection that I'm not super worried about that. What I find sometimes if I have a tiny bead up next to my my end tip, it doesn't want to sit nice and flush up against my bead, so it kind of tilts. But whatever works for you. If you guys want to do a knot, you could, right? You could put a knot there. You want to make sure, though, that that knot is big enough. But I feel like it just is a little too thin for my personal taste up against that. But You do you. You do whatever works for you. I like the way that a bead kind of hugs up against that end tip. Um, but again, that's my personal preference. So let me throw a knot in here for you so you can see this. Okay. And so you could, let me see. Yes, and Donna, I will show how I close the clamshell. Let me go ahead and put some glue on this knot right here. I kind of organized my stuff a little bit. Okay, a little bit. Let me see if I can get the lid off of this piece here. So I've got my clamshell. Can you see that there? And I'm going to add my glue. And I'm going to just let that sit for a second. So let me tie a knot. Let me tie a knot in this one. So periodically in a long strand like this, I'll come in and I'll just tie my knot, just that simple overhand purl knot. Now you can use an awl like I did the other day, or you can use your knotting tweezers like I have here, right? Or you can do it by hand. We have that method. If you go over to beadshop.com and you look up under class handouts, archive projects, class handouts, our class handout from our in-person pearl knotting class is there that you can download. Okay, so see, I've tied that little knot. Then I split those threads to kind of tighten that knot down. Now I can add my seed bead if I want to, or I can just leave it as a knot, whatever. Right? So here's this, this, and this. And then you can see it just sits there, that little knot, right? Like that. So it adds strength to what it is that we're doing. So if the necklace breaks, you're only going to lose the portion of the beads that are in between the knots. Now you could, if you wanted, instead of seed beads, you could just knot in between, right? I'm going to do this by hand because I'm going to do it fast. And let me show you how this double strand of micro Ceylon looks as a knot in between. Okay, so it almost looks like a seed bead in there. And the thread color, this is a nice matching thread color. So it just depends on, on what you want to do with the piece, right? You could also, might look kind of cool, you could sort all of these beads out, right? Like beads to like beads. And you could string sections of those beads too. That might also look good. You know, just depending on what you like. That's the fun about these mixes, is they really are a springboard for you to do whatever it is that you you know, that you wanna create. Let me show you how to close this off. Okay, let me get some chain nose pliers here. Let me see, I've got my pliers. Let me get some chain nose pliers. So now what you're going to do is, after this knot that I've glued with my GS Hypo has dried overnight, I'm going to come in, and you could thread burn this if you wanted to kind of cauterize the end. Let me see. I've got one thread burner that I've got two thread burners sitting here. I have one that needs a battery, which I think is this one. And I've got one that doesn't. I think it's this one. Let's see. So I can come in. I just restocked the thread burners. We just got them back in. Is that the one that's working? Yeah, good. Okay, so that knot is Nice and in there, right? Okay. 2 strings for tying the knots. I like 2 strands because it really, that little end when you come in and you tighten that knot down, I just really love the way that works. So let me get my toggle. Where is it? Here's one half of my toggle. Where's the other half? There it is. Okay. So you want to make sure that the loop on your toggle clasp is going to be large enough so that there's movement here, right? And this loop is nice and big, so I don't need a spare jump ring. Okay, so I'm going to put my clasp on. Doesn't matter which side you use. You can see here from the side view. I'm going to come in and I'm going to grab the end of, there we go, the end of that loop, and I'm going to loop it down so it sits right at the top of that clamshell. Sorry, it's a little out of my focal range. There we go. So can you see that there? How it, no, you can't. There you go. Okay, like this. Now, then I want to just come in and I want to make sure that that little end is closed. What you can also do, what I do sometimes, and I'll do it on this one, is I'll bend the hook back just a little so that when I round it over, it kind of rounds a little bit more rather than teardrop shapes. So Jermaine has a great question, and that's what this is all leading up to. So Jermaine is asking, the loop portion of this clamshell, is it strong enough for a long necklace? You've had them open up. So that's the thing. 2 things. You want to make sure that the loop, the size, the air, as Janice likes to say, that you have here has movement, right? If this is tight and small and the clasp has difficulty being really supple here in the loop, it's going to open and break. Okay, it's going to open up because there'll be too much stress. In that case, use a nice jump ring. I'd use probably an oval jump ring or a round jump ring. An oval is a really strong connection. That oval one that we carry, not the super tiny one, but the 4mm, might be a good option for it. Or you could use like a 4mm round ring, and that'll give it just enough movement so that this won't be a stress point. Okay. Then I'm going to come in and I'm just going to close this clamshell. And as I close it, let me see if I can get underneath it so you guys can see here. As I close it, I'll just close it nice and tight. You can kind of hear that little click that it makes, and that's not going anywhere. Okay, that's it. So then this, the other side, I'll put that in the other side, and then this will just come through, and it will be delightful, right? Gorgeous. So that's that. That's that story. That's my story. I'm sticking to it, right? I think it's just a pretty closure for it. Now you could also do this, let me mention, you could also do this endlessly. And there's a couple of broadcasts that I've done on closing an endless necklace. This one I did on Soft Flex, right? This is strung on Soft Flex. And can you see I did an endless closure here? That is a crimp cover. So I put my soft flex coming in like this under a crimp tube, crimped it flat, and then hid that little sucker. There's a little bit of soft flex sticking out there, which I don't like. So I'm going to come in and clip that away. There we go. So you can see that that just blends right in there. So if you have a long strand that you just want to loop around and around, you could do that with soft flex as well. Okay, be very pretty. All right. Well, I hope that answers everybody's questions. Gosh, let me tell you guys a few things here. Let me do this. Bear with me. As always, you guys, you can find us on our social at beadshop.com on Instagram, our Facebook group called The Bead Table, and of course, you can like and subscribe to our YouTube channel if you're watching live or if you're watching us on replay right at beadshop.com. And of course, for all of the information on the project that I'm doing today and the products from today's broadcast, jump right over to beadshop.com. This mix will go live right now. It's 11:20 a.m. here on the West Coast. So it goes live in about 40 minutes at noon Pacific time. And there'll be a link right on the front homepage as well. The mix is called Juniper Frost. And to make sure that you don't miss any information on my future mixes and things like that, you can sign up for our newsletter for the latest discounts, giveaways, and new products. So that is that. Next week, I'm going to do a project that kind of piggybacks onto this. I've got some new stuff. It's way over here. Let me just lean. I've got some new stuff. There we go. In this bag that's going to become kind of fun. A fun thing. We're going to revisit one of Emily's patterning with stones projects, right? So we really, it's going to be a good kind of refresher. We're going to do that though with our soft flex we're going to be stringing with, and we're going to finish it off endlessly. It's going to be fun. So I hope you enjoyed today's info on all of this pearl mix called Juniper Frost. As I said, it'll go live at noon today, and go shopping early, put stuff in your cart. Then when that refresh your screen at noon, so the product loads, the inventory loads in. If you just wait and don't refresh, it may not load. Okay, so refresh your screen at noon, drop it in your cart, and check out, right? Because they're going to go quick. Also, if you have need of it and you have a DVD player, I did find during my move a whole bunch of these classic basic stringing techniques that I filmed at Bellissimo. So it's a good one to kind of go along with that. So I threw them up on the shop, and they're $5 each. So you can see a little bit of a younger me stringing at my old bead store in San Francisco, but the techniques are still the same, tried and true. Okay, so if you have any questions or any questions for Bead Doctor for our next Friday's broadcast, go ahead and toss them over to Drea over at, where's that banner? Over at info@beadshop.com. I know I have that banner here somewhere. I don't know why I can't find it. Well, it's info@beadshop. I don't see it here. I don't know why. It might have erased. Anywhere. Oh, here. Well, this is the congratulations one, but you can see info@beadshop.com. Go ahead and email those questions in. And Janice and I will do a Bead Doctor segment next week. All right. Well, thank you everyone for all of your participation today. It was a lot of fun. I hope you guys had fun. Have a great and creative weekend. I can't wait to see what you make with this Juniper Frost mix. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay happy, everybody. And I will see you on Wednesday with some new product and this great Patterning with Stones project that's coming up. Thanks so much, all. We'll talk to you soon. Bye bye.